Strawberries.
Macerated strawberries. Do you know what macerated means?
I do not, Mr. Barely. What does macerated mean?
Macerated means to mush them up.
Oh, that's why the strawberries they're all mushed up.
Yeah, they're all mushed up. You mush them up and you put a little sugar on them, and then all the juices come out and they get sweeter and more strawberry-er.
Nice. I
Strawberry-er.
Strawberry. That's a word that is happening.
That is a word that's happening. Well, I think that we should get started. This is Barely Furcasting, featuring Taebyn and Injured Nerves audio production. Hello, welcome, and Mubark Fluff to all our listeners, friends, and stalkers. I am Barely Normal, your co-host with a fence post.
A fence
post, and with me, as always, is Taebyn. Hello, and Mubark Fluff, Taebyn. How are you today?
Mubark Fluff to you too, Barely. I am doing good. And you know, I've been wondering when you were going to, kind of start running out of things that rhyme with co-host. And that's why you had the fence post today. So, okay,
yep.
Nice.
Yep. There's only so many words that rhyme with host.
It turns out Hinderfruit does not rhyme with co-host. So
no, I may have to change my title from co-host to something else that have more rhymey words.
So that you can rhyme with it. We'll see what happens. That's exciting.
You start a thing and then you have to keep going. And it's like, that's a lot of work to keep it going. Kind of like a podcast that we do every week.
It turns out to be a little bit of work to keep it going. It turns out you think at first it's like, oh, no problem. But it turns out, hey. But yes, all of our listeners out there, we love doing it for us and for you. So the work is worth it. Hi.
Absolutely. Hi.
Oh, yes. And so my name is Taebyn. I'm a pup, bark. And there's that. How are you doing, Barely? How's your week been?
Oh, my week's been busy. I'm getting ready for my trip to Tennessee to go help take care of my parents. So I did reach out to some Tennessee furs, but actually when this comes out, let's see, this comes out on the 12th. So I will have been left Tennessee already. So Thank you all the Tennessee furs for the time that I saw and met you there. It was wonderful to meet you. I hope that we get to meet again sometime soon.
And if it turns out that you ended up not meeting any Tennessee furs because they were all just gone or something, you just said that because why not?
Why not? Yeah. Nope. There we go. That's what. No, I do have some plans to meet up with some Tennessee furs. So.
Oh, good.
We're not going to do a Tennessee waltz, but we will do Tennessee furs. Well,
so yes,
it's June, and that means it's Pride Month around the world. So a huge happy Pride to all our LGBTQ plus listeners and all their supporters and advocates, or Happy Pride Month if you're a bunny, a kangaroo, or you happen to like beer.
Either way, so that encompasses a lot of fluff and things out there. So yes, happy Pride to all you furs and all you things out there. I guess
this is even a happier Pride because last year's Pride everywhere was shut down because of that nasty
that
virus.
COVID thing. Yeah,
that COVID crap. So
I heard about that. I don't know much about it, but
yeah, I did see on the news today that new cases are going down exponentially all across the country.
Oh,
so
that's a very good thing.
Vaccinations are working and things are making a turn, I think. So very happy. Yeah,
no, that's a great, wonderful thing. So
it is.
Good job to all you furs out there that got your Poke Arm Day. It's very, very much worth it. So hopefully we will get to hug in the fluff again. Yay.
Very, very soon, I hope. So, Mr. Taebyn.
Hi.
I'm going to throw a very strange challenge out to the furs this week.
Oh, are you now?
I am. I'm going to challenge them to eat a pickled herring.
Okay. Yes, that is a slightly different than, say, putting a coin in some furs parking meter for them.
Absolutely. Send us a picture of you eating a pickled herring and tell us what it tastes like because I've never had a pickled herring.
So, is that? I've always wondered what that actually is. So, is it a bird that they pickled or something?
No, it's a fish.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense. So why did I think it's a bird?
You don't normally pickle birds.
Well, see, I didn't think so, and that's why I thought it was so weird that they did. But okay, that makes more sense now.
You can pickle beets, you can pickle cucumbers, you can pickle cauliflower, you can pickle peppers because Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, you
He
know.
did.
Mhm,
I've
mhm.
heard of that somewhere. Can you pickle a pickle?
No, once it's been pickled, you can't
You
repickle
can't
it.
do it again. You
No.
can't repickle a pickle. And
You
that
might be able to depickle a pickle. Soak it in water, I guess, that depickles it. I don't
I don't know. Maybe if you throw it in a swimming pool long enough or something, I don't know.
Dechlorinate it, yeah. Can you tickle a pickle?
You can, but
Mm.
a hinder fruit gets jealous.
Oh, alright. There's a minor league baseball team in Portland now called the Portland Pickles.
Really? Oh, come
Really? Yes.
I think people are, like, running out of words because the Portland
Oh,
pickles?
the Portland
That's
Pickles, yep.
oh, that's hilarious. Okay, good, good.
I understand you have something you wanna discuss with me.
Oh, well, just a small bit of trivia that, I found
Oh,
out.
okay.
It's not too exciting, but here it is.
Alright.
So, those office chairs that have the little wheelies on the bottom, of course,
Like most office chairs, yeah.
like most office chairs. Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know, actually, most of them these days do. So
Yeah.
the average office chair that has
Mhm.
wheelies travels 12.5 kilometers on average per year. That's 8,202 feet per year.
Wow.
It
Y
is a wow.
For each that's the chair, not each wheel, right?
I think it's the actual chair, yeah.
Okay. Because if you have 6 wheels, you gotta multiply that by 6, so each wheel travels 6 times that. So the chair I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. It's a math thing, and I don't do math. So,
Okay.
let's let's move along to last week today, shall we? If we can. I don't
I
know.
feel like this is I hope there's a fur listening. Anyway, yes, let's
So,
do that.
but I
Let's move on.
my question about that though is the chairs, if they travel, doesn't it make it hard to work if you're 8,000 feet away from your desk?
You that's a very good question. Is it's so so apparently no one on Earth is getting really any work done because they're always 8,000 feet away from their desk.
Right, right. That reminds me of an old joke about the guy that says, "I am just" goes to the doctor and he says, "I am just so tired of being with my wife. I love her, but she drives me crazy. I cannot deal with the stress anymore." And the doctor says, "Well, something that will help you out, just go ahead and run 5 miles every day, every night, and you'll be fine."
Okay.
And so 10 days later, the guy calls back and he says, "Doc, you were right. Running 5 miles a day has helped immensely." And the doctor says, "Oh, really? Why is it so helpful?" He says, "Well, because I'm 50 miles away."
That would actually probably do it.
Yeah, yeah. So last week today, you mentioned that locking of the front doors when you come in. You had watched a special on
Right.
Netflix, which I will talk about immediately because I started watching it again. Because she came in and she put the keys in the thing and she didn't lock the door behind her. And I was like, there are a number of doors that lock automatically behind you.
That's
I mean, think
true,
about
that's
the
true.
hotel room. You come in, you don't have to physically lock the door. Nobody can walk in behind you if they don't have a key.
Right.
So it
Mhm.
locks.
That's
So, and some business doors do that and some office doors. And so we're going to assume then to help you get over your puppy angst and anxiety that all the doors on television and movies automatically lock behind them when they come in.
okay, okay.
See, if you always assume that, then you will never get angsty about it.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about this too, and I think I know the reason why, and unfortunately, but I'll try that. That might help. That it might help.
It might help. It might help to, yeah. If it doesn't help, or if it just makes you angsty about something else, then go back to being angsty about the thing you like to be angsty about.
Okay,
So,
there you go.
do you have
Yes,
anything for last week today?
I do. I have several things.
Okay.
So I was thinking about last time. It's not even on the menu. Like, where did that even come from? If you remember.
I,
I was thinking about that, and it was
Mhm.
that's just and so for any further that didn't hear that, what the um, I was recently described as the waiter that that always gets meal wrong, and, like, it's not even on the menu. It's like, where did that even
Right.
come from? I think that's in relation to how random I sometimes can be. Anyway, so
Mhm.
that was good. Apparently, I mean, I don't know. And Vlanderschil. So I think it was
Yes.
last week we talked about Vlanderschil.
We did,
And
yes.
do you remember the definition of Vlanderschil?
It's to peel away the hardened parts.
Yes. And so this came up actually for me because I had made a note when I listened to episode 39 for whatever reason. That's where
Mhm.
it came from. And the
Okay.
question was, how does a chicken Vlanderschil? And so now there's our
It
answer.
it peels away the hardened parts of its heart.
And if you
It's
remember, the
unhappy.
answer was yes. So apparently that's correct.
Yes, the answer was yes.
And I'm not sure why I have a note about this. So I'm not sure if it's from last week or just because I was doing that thing. Like, where
Where
did
you
it
just
even
make
come
random
from?
notes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it
Uh-huh.
happens. What is your favorite thing about Mork and Mindy? My first question is, why do I even ask that?
I don't know, but I
Oh,
that's why would you ask that? And we have never talked about Mork and Mindy on the show
okay. I couldn't remember it
ever.
like that.
I don't think we've ever talked about Mork and Mindy. I
I
think we've
don't think
talked
so either.
about Robin Williams, so maybe that
Might be.
fired some neurons in your puppy brain that made you think
Maybe.
about Mork and Mindy. But what is my favorite part about Mork and Mindy? Oh, the funniest thing I remember about that show was when he was trying to make the eggs fly and they were just splatting all over the floor because he flew into the country
In
on
the
it with a
egg,
big
yeah.
egg, and
Uh-huh.
so and he said the eggs were alive, so all the little eggs, he was like, "Fly, be free," blah," and it would
Oh,
go
I do
splat,
remember this.
splat. Yeah,
And wasn't that even in the intro credits thing? I think it
yes,
was
there's a little,
actually
yeah. He would,
okay,
yeah.
that's
There's
where
just,
that's from. Okay.
yep.
Cool,
So that
cool.
was my favorite part about Mork and Mindy. So
Nice.
there you
I
go.
have a few more last week's today.
Okay,
We have a few minutes. I think I can get
few
through
minutes.
this
Yeah,
fast. They're
sure.
actually from so also in episode 39, the thing I do with the 5 minutes or the
Uh huh. The
you know what
news
I'm gonna
thing. Yeah.
say,
Uh huh.
the phrase in the news.
Uh huh.
In episode 39, wow, what is wrong? Oh, I'm so crazy ridiculous pup, I must say. And then I would just listen the other day to episode 45. In that episode, my phrase
Hmm.
in the news thing was I don't know what the word for it was, but go back and listen to it because
Insane.
I so insane. I actually made myself laugh for some reason. It was so I'm such a cray pup. So everybody for out there, so that you know, I am cray pup. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was especially ridiculous there. Also in
Okay.
episode 45, speaking of cray pup, you know how my send-offs are a little bit longer than they probably need to be on any planet? Well, in this particular episode, longest send off ever. So like that was like half the episode was me like trying to say goodbye. And also in episode 45 is when you talked about the smoke. Well, we talked about the smoke alarms because you mentioned you were buying some more and you were supposed to get the new ones in like a week. So how are your smoke alarms treating you now?
They are not beeping.
They're not. That's all that actually meant. Who cares if I actually get a fire? I just want them not to
Not
chirp.
to beep, right? I don't want them to chirp when I'm not wanting them to chirp. They should only chirp when there's smoke or fire.
Exactly. Okay, good. So
Okay.
I'm glad to know everything is now okay with that.
Everything is now okay with that. Yes.
And that concludes my
And
last week today.
that concludes last week today. And
The
so now we
concludes.
shall post the link to 5 Minute Furs and see if anyone should happen to pop in.
And just today, I told some fur that you should like come do this, and they were
Hmm.
like, I don't know what I would say, and I'm thinking, have you not? Do you not know
Have you
me?
not
Have you not
listened?
heard? What's
Have you not listened to the podcast? We don't know what to say either. I mean, come
no?
on.
No. Yeah, there is that. So anyway, I don't know. So
All right. While we're waiting, I will say that we don't have anything in the mailbag because, hey, Furs, send us some mail.
send us
I don't
some
care.
mail.
Anything, an email, a message. And there really wasn't anything going on in the chat this week either. It was kind of anticlimactic or anti-firmactic.
Or anti-chatmatic, maybe?
Anti-chatmactic. Wow, that's a hard word to say. Um,
It is.
Speaking of hard words to say, I'm going to do a little bit of the Fluffster's Abridged Dictionary because today's word is very simple. It's a hingle basket.
Did I talk about a Hingle basket?
Yes, and it's pretty simple what a hingle basket is. It's a device for carrying, storing, or collecting or displaying your hingles.
That whoever came up with that word did a very good job in naming it because that's a
Mhm.
very descriptive word.
The word describes what it does. It's very
It's a
simple,
you
you know.
don't need
If
to. It's unlike Hinderfruit and Vlandershield and what other crepe up I do.
all
So
those other words that, decrier, wow. Mm.
decry the town
Decrier.
decrier.
The town decrier, decrying all the time. He's sitting
Uh-huh,
in the
uh-huh.
corner. I'm the town crier. No,
Okay.
okay. Anyway, bum. But seriously, folks, try the veal. I will be here all week. Tip your waiter. If you had a good time, let us know. If you didn't have a good time, let us know and we'll make it right.
What I so my question to
What?
you, Barely, I have a question for you, Barely.
Yes.
What just happened?
I don't know. It's
Oh,
it's just one
okay.
of those things. My mind rambles. It's like the little, you go to a lounge show, a dinner show, and they say, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, come on up to the stage, and we hope everybody's having a good time tonight. And if you're having a good time, let us know. If you're not having a good time, let us know, and we'll make it right." Tip your waiter. It's kind of like when I had a job as my first day as a bank teller, and this lady came up to me and said, "Could you check my balance?" So I pushed her over.
She didn't have a very good
She
balance.
didn't have good balance, no. Anyway,
No.
uh, so I think we should just blaze right into media while we're waiting.
Oh,
So,
I just thought of something actually.
did it hurt?
I it it hurt. I was first wondering what the smell was, and I realized I was
Yes.
thinking, and
Oh,
that's what that
and
smell
it
was.
was the
It
smoke
was
coming out
smell.
your
Yeah,
ears.
and
Yes.
that's why it hurt so much because I had.
Ah,
No, I saw this news article today. Do you remember? And maybe you saw this too. Do you remember? Trump was like banned from like everything, all the social media and platforms and stuff.
yes. Mhm.
And then, so he was going to make his own media platform and everything.
Yes, he
And
was.
I forgot, I was going to look into it and everything, but I forgot all about it until I saw a news article today that said that I don't remember word for word what it said, but basically that he shut it down. It was a blog thing. He shut it down 29 days after opening it because like he was unhappy with the viewership, like his numbers that were
Mhm.
participating were so low that he
Mhm.
shut it down. And then there's a picture of him like all frumpy, frowning looking, and it's kind of good.
Well, he seems to think he's gonna be back in charge in sometime in August, which I don't
I
know
heard
where
that.
he's getting that information from because
Yeah. I think I
there
saw
is
that just
nothing.
yesterday or something. I don't know why, but okay. And
Yeah.
also I
What?
saw that he hi. Oh,
Hi.
that oh no, he
He, hi,
Cooper
ho,
who
hum
I smell the fluff of it. No, I don't know.
of an
Um
English nun. No,
Cooper
man. An English nun? I smell the fluff of an English nun? What?
I saw a clip from CNN. Cooper Anderson or Anderson Cooper was
Mhm.
talking to I forget who, but talking to someone. This person was talking about how it's just crazy that he's all still focused on the election thing and everything. Like he's not moving forward. It's like he's gone. I think the words were he's gone to the bottom of the crazy talk or
Oh, yeah.
something. At the very end of the clip, he said, "Sorry, you're a loser, Mr. Trump, but you lost." and I
You're
thought that's
fired.
funny. Yeah.
See, I don't pretend to know about problems, mental health problems, but if any other person in the world was acting like the way our former president is acting, they would lock him up and throw away the key. They would put him in a rubber room so that he couldn't hurt himself. I find it very difficult to believe that he could plan anything from the all-you-can-eat buffet at Mar-a-Lago. But hey, who knows?
Well, yeah, no, maybe it'll be interesting to see what's on his menu. I guess.
Right? I'll be back. I'll be back. Oh, look at the shrimp. Yay. So,
Yay, shrimp.
uh, yay, shrimp. What a friggin' moron, I swear. Okay.
Yeah, but I get that a lot, so it's okay.
Nobody's ever called you a friggin' moron. Have they? No one's ever called you that, have they, Taebyn?
Maybe not those exact words, but
Oh, all right. All right. Well, words to that effect, huh?
words
Okay.
to
Well,
that effect.
well, I don't think anybody's going to come in, so I'll just leave the link up for another 3 minutes because we always promise everybody 10 minutes while we wait. But we're going to move into media.
Media.
And I watched, as I mentioned earlier, the first and second episode of season 2 of the show Special, as you
Oh,
mentioned the
nice.
show last week, and, it's about a young man, not a child, but a young man, young adult who
I think
has
it's
cerebral.
25 or something, yeah.
Yes, a young adult. I mean,
Yeah.
25 is young, who has
Mm.
cerebral palsy, and he's out on his own. When you mentioned it last week, I said I don't remember it, but then I started watching it again. I said, "Oh, yeah, I remember this now."
How did he find it again? Did you just
Oh, it just popped up on Netflix saying,
Oh.
"This is out now." So I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I
Oh,
remember
yeah,
watching
that's right.
this."
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The name didn't kick in my head, that's why. The
Well,
horse
good,
kicked in
because
my
that would have
head, but the
hurt,
name
yeah.
didn't, yeah. No, I feel bad for the main character sometimes, though, but the funny thing is, he's not people with cerebral palsy are not mentally challenged, they're physically challenged.
Mhm.
So he doesn't have mental challenges, but the other characters in the show
Do.
treat him
Oh,
like he is mentally incapable, and that rubs me the wrong way sometimes when I'm watching the show because I'm like,
mm,
he's not mentally incapable
it's
because
not.
he has cerebral palsy. It has nothing to do with that.
No, he's a pretty intelligent guy, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and then we watched the next Marvel movie in the timeline, Black Panther. It's a great movie.
Ooh, I
Yeah,
like
it's a
the
great movie.
title.
hmm
I
He
mean,
must be a furry because he's a panther. Have you seen it?
I have not, but I just like the
Oh,
title, so now I have to see it.
now you have to see it. Yes, I mean it's a great, great movie. Unfortunately, the main character, the actor that played the main character, Chadwick Boseman, passed away in 2020.
Oh, did he?
So
Okay.
yeah, they were in the middle of filming the second Black Panther movie, and he passed.
That's unfortunate.
They're having to reshoot it and reimagine how the movie will come out. Yeah, in fact, he has been suffering from colon cancer since 2016. During that time, he starred in at least 4 or 5 different blockbuster movies during that time frame. So, R.I.P. Chadwick.
RIP. And I have to say, I read that in the show notes as color cancer. It's like, what is color? Can't like, did you color too much with crayons as a child, or what?
Color cancer is what happens when you leave your Crayolas out in the sun and they all melt together. That's color cancer. It makes for some interesting colors, though,
I bet. I bet. And candles, because you
and
can make
candles.
candles with crayons.
That's got to smell awful.
Not too bad,
Because
actually.
really, oh, you've
Yeah.
done this, have you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it's not too and they get
hmm.
all, like when you melt the so off the rails or something, but when you
Yes,
melt the, crayons and stuff,
yeah.
you get all these sparklies in it. Maybe I'm thinking of soap, but I think it's crayons that
Maybe
I
you're
put
thinking,
as well.
what, you've made candles out of soap too?
I don't think so. It's one or the
Okay.
other. I think it's crayons, but I just happen to think maybe it's soap.
Hmm. So, interesting thing about crayons. Now, you said crayons and I said crayons. A lot of people pronounce it crowns.
Say that again? They pronounce it how?
Color crowns.
Color crowns?
Crowns. Yep.
Well, I don't believe that is correct, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're wrong.
So you should, well, that's crayon, Crayons. That's how
Yeah.
it's spelled. But if you ask any random people, half the people you ask will probably say they're crowns.
Really? That's
Yeah.
very interesting to me somehow. Okay,
You
okay.
should you should try that during the next week and see how many people say
I
crowns
should.
instead of crayons. Yeah.
I will do that. And of course, since the only person I ever see is my hubby, so we'll just see what my hubby says.
There you go. There you go. What have you been watching, Mr. Taven?
So we've also been watching Special. We finished season 2. Good show. Been watching South Park for my lunchtime things,
Mhm.
and I mentioned Sick Note at one point that we've been watching that, and we finished season 2.
Of what?
Sick Note.
Sick Note. You have
Sick
never
Note.
mentioned Sick Note
I
before.
th I think oh, see, I think last week I forgot to say that we were started watching Sick Note again,
Okay.
because we watched it a long time ago, and so
In the way, way back, the
in
4
the
times?
yes, way. So, anyway,
What is it?
it's a show,
I love
and
when I could just jig you and you just don't know where to go because I keep asking you questions until
I
you don't get to answer them.
it is a show that it's about oh, no, okay, no, you see, maybe you'll remember this, the star is what's his name? Ron from,
Ron Weasley?
yes, from what's the name of the Harry Potter? Why are words so hard for me sometimes? I don't
I
know.
don't know. I met a Harry Potter once.
You
It was
did?
at the state fair. Yeah, he was very hairy and he was making pots.
That would do it. Yep. So we finished watching his second season, and his pots are now on sale, and you can buy them at your local supermarket. Also, we watched Jack Reacher 2 called Never Go Back. It was good. It wasn't like my favorite thing ever, but we watched it. We finished season 2 of Lucifer and started season 3. We've only seen one episode, but it's really good still. And we started the next season of Kim's Convenience.
Oh, okay.
Really good show. So we did a lot of weeking this week.
You did a lot of weeking this TV, yes.
Oh.
So on Lucifer season 3, you're starting, right?
Yes.
Is that, and no spoilers? I'm just going to ask you, and if it's not, you won't know. Is it the Sinnerman series?
No, I recognize the word. I think the word was
Okay.
just introduced in the episode we watched, but I don't know anything about it.
If you knew it, you would know. If you didn't, it won't be a spoiler because they just, it's a word at this point.
So far, it's a word. We know a word. Do you know any words?
I know many words, but many words do not know me.
Where is this episode even going? What is?
I have no clue. I have no clue.
Maybe we've hit that point at like we've done it all. It's like we can't do anything else, so we're done.
We can't do anything else.
If any fur is actually still listening, I mean, I say this all the time, but I really feel I have to say this now. If any fur is still listening, you're so amazing. That what is even going on? Okay.
Well, in that case, I suppose. Well, I took the link down since nobody showed up, so the link is gone.
Or I guess I can't really say bye-bye officially because no one was actually here.
Right. So we can't say hello. Cannot say hello, goodbye. I'm late. Or no, was that? No, that's from
Wonderland.
Wonderland. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland.
Alice.
I came to say hello, goodbye. I'm late. I'm late
for a very important date. Hello.
I've come to say hello, goodbye. I'm late.
Moo, bark, fluff.
There you go. So, so I think we should, before we get too far off the rails, although I think the train
late. Oh my cow!
I think the train has gone off the rails, down the freeway, and has gone into the ocean.
And no coming back from that.
Nope. So I think we should get to our classic comedy bit. This week's bit is. I'm not chomping at it. I don't. Maybe we should just start this whole thing over again. No,
that's the whole entire show over.
No.
Oh,
if you not edit it out. So let's just start over again from now. Hi, welcome, Mubarak Fluff.
Welcome to Mubarak Fluff
universe. No.
Yeah, I mean, when you edit this, after you get done editing this, it will be like a half a second long because you'll be saying hi and we go away. But it's done.
We go away. That's it.
The whole show.
Right. Yeah, that's the whole show. So let's get to our classic comedy bit. Our classic comedy bit this week comes to us again from Monty Python and the Flying Circus. It is the penguin on the television set. Now, traditionally, this bit is done with the members of Monty Python dressed up as women. And so they talk like this.
Little old women, as a matter of fact.
Little old women. And in fact, the name, and if you look at the scripts, they're called Pepper Pot 1 and Pepper Pot 2. Those are the two women sitting there watching the telly.
You do way too good of a job with your little old lady English accent there. So
what's that on the telly then? So I don't know if I think I'll do my voice like this and you can do your voice any way you want. How's that?
Okay. This I wonder what's going to come out this time.
I don't know, but here we are sitting on the television. Or no, we're not sitting on the television. We're sitting on the couch watching the television. And I'm going to say, well, Taebyn, I think we should watch some television. What do you say? You've muted your phone again. Why is it muted?
Oh, because I was trying to...
Oh my goodness, Taebyn's not going to be able to do this with me, I don't think. Right then.
Let's start this over.
Taebyn, I think we should watch some television. What do you say? Well, what's that on the television then?
Looks like a penguin.
No, 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 I didn't mean what's on the television set. I meant what program.
Oh. Oh. I'm sorry. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
poor Taebyn is just running amok over here.
There's so much muck over here.
So much muck.
I don't know what. Okay. Oh, well, it's kind of funny that a penguin should be sitting there, isn't it? I mean, what's it doing there?
It's standing.
Well, I can see that.
You know, if it lays an egg, it will fall down the back of the television set.
Well, we'll have to watch that, unless it's a male penguin.
Ooh, I never thought of that.
Yeah. It looks pretty butch.
Perhaps it's from next door.
Oh, well, next door. Oh, penguins don't come from next door. They come from the Antarctic.
Burma!
Why did you just say Burma?
I panicked.
Oh. Okay, that makes sense. Perhaps it's from the zoo, and I changed my voice, but I changed back.
Which zoo?
How should I know which zoo? I'm not Dr. Bloody Bernowski.
Well, how would Dr. Banowski know which zoo it came from?
He knows everything.
Oh, I wouldn't like that. It would take all the mystery out of life. Anyway, if it came from the zoo, it would have property of the zoo stamped on it.
No, it wouldn't. They don't stamp animals property of the zoo. You can't stamp a huge lion.
They stamp them when they're small.
Oh, what happens when they molt?
Lions don't molt.
No, but penguins do. There, you see, everyone rings around you logically.
Oh, to heck with the penguins. Send them back to Ziggy.
Indeed do.
Indeed we do. Yes, there we are with a little bit of switch, the Taebyn barely take on the Monty Python sketch of Penguin on the Telly.
And who is Who is Dr. Bernowski?
Have no clue. It was just a line they used.
It is a line. Okay, I didn't know if like maybe
he could be some philosopher in Great Britain back in the 70s when they wrote this sketch. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I was like, I think at this point now we should get to our guest. Our guest this week is Thae, and he's going to tell us all about his life as a person that runs.
To put it mildly, and
yes.
other things, yes. To put it mildly, yes. So, for every fur that's listening, or maybe you just skipped ahead to the guest interview. If you did not miss much in the last 30 minutes. Yeah, but let's get to our guest.
Joining us today is Thae from Baltimore, Maryland. How are you tonight, Thae?
Good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. And with us is who's with us? Who's that guy with us?
Well, I don't know who that guy is, but there's this crazy pup that I don't think should actually be allowed on this podcast, but his name is Taebyn. And oh, wait, that's me. Hi, my name is Taebyn. I'm a pup. I'm also a park sometimes when I go bark around in one. But for tonight, I'll be a pup and say welcome to our little whatever this is that we do. I don't know what we do here, but here we are, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me on. This is fantastic. I've never been on a podcast before, and I actually been kind of, I wouldn't say stalking you guys, but I've been listening to the podcast, and they're fantastic.
All right,
thank you so much. That's so great to know. Why do we have the same name almost?
That is a good question. I don't think I had any specific influence when I came up with my name. It was much longer than it is now currently. It was much more difficult to spell at the time.
So you decided to shorten it because you're like, I don't want to try and spell this all the time.
Yeah, and it wasn't me spelling it. It was mostly when I started going to conventions. People like, how do I find you on Twitter? I can't, and it just
no, that
made it
very
short and sweet and complete.
So, Thae, how are you? tonight? Has anything changed in the last few seconds?
Good. The only thing that's changed is we started recording. It's only been
Right.
going for 2 minutes now.
Nice, nice. I'm glad things are going well. So how about if I ask something like, how long have you been a furry? Or first I should ask, are you a furry? Did you know you're a furry?
I did not know I'm a furry. I happen to be wearing some kind of rainbow dog hoodie, so I guess that qualifies
Hmm.
me somehow.
Okay, okay. I hope you're okay with this because I know it can be a shock sometimes if you just find this out.
Actually, there is a large collection of convention badges on my wall next to me.
So probably you already knew.
I do now. I do
You do?
now.
Okay, good, good, good. So if you knew before now, how long would you say you've been a furry and how long in the fandom?
I think sometime in high school, which I mean, for me, I don't want to date myself, but I graduated high school in like 2010, and it was sometime during there. I don't think there was a specific time of when you stated you became a furry, but I didn't go to conventions until 2015, and it was on a whim. It was a buddy of mine from high school. We had went our separate ways after high school, and then a couple of years later, kind of realized he was kind of drawing stuff, posting things to DeviantArt, and I'm like, hey, that's kind of furry stuff. Do you want to go to a furry convention? This thing called Anthrocon. And so I know it sounds like insanity now being in the fandom, but we decided 2 weeks before Anthrocon started to book a hotel and go there. We
Mm.
had to walk, I think, like a
Well,
mile
you
to the
don't know.
convention center.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insanity, all right. 2 weeks before. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So you
we
were
only
at the like 10th of their 10 hotels. What do you say, a
yeah,
mile away? Yeah.
yeah, we only planned to stay 2 days because we're like, this is kind of weird. Fursuiters are creepy, and
Yeah, pretty much.
then I think maybe after the first day, even we had such a blast. We did not want to leave. I met so many cool people and interesting friends I still talk to today.
Nice, nice. So I'm sure you would agree that you didn't know that you were going to enter into like one of the best communities you could have.
Absolutely.
So what got you into it? Like, so it sounded like there was drawing and artistry involved. Was this before high school? Do you think it started kindling, or was it just all of a
Yes.
sudden, hey, here I am?
No, absolutely. Before high school, and I
Oh,
think
okay.
I want to blame '90s cartoons. SWAT Cats, Gargoyles was a big one for me. I used to play like Spyro the Dragon and all these like anthropomorphic characters. I'm like, these are really interesting character concepts. I always like the idea of portraying personality elements through animal symbolism. Ancient Egyptians did that. A lot of other cultures have done that in the past. And I eventually started kind of developing my own story, which is a whole other conversation rabbit hole that I never ended up finishing it. But it was a lot of self exploration that eventually led me to I think it was some fantasy website that led me to DeviantArt, led me to Fur Affinity, and I'm kind of like, okay,
Okay.
this is interesting. And then I made an account, and I'm like, oh, there's this SFW switch. What does that do? And I turned that off, and I'm like, oh, okay, gonna have to take a step back. And then it took me like another year or two to finally like build up the confidence to go to a convention.
I thought you were going to say it took you a little bit of time to build up the confidence to switch that switch again.
I had no idea what it was.
Oh, okay. Good, good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
immediately
me
switched it
neither.
back off. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like I like apples, but if I switch this switch to bananas, is that gonna be okay? No, that's scary. I stay with, apples. So you've been to a lot of cons then. What cons would you typically go to before this pandemic age that we are in?
Most of the big ones. So Anthrocon, MFF, so Midwest Fur Fest in Chicago, for those that don't know. Let's see here. Anthro, Ohio. I'm actually originally from Columbus, Ohio. I know that may be not a surprise to you guys considering your previous podcasts.
Right? Yeah.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
You have listened. You weren't just lying. You have listened.
yes.
So I'm honored.
And then also, furthermore, because I'm in Baltimore, so that's down the street from me. And
Nice.
those are the big ones.
Nice.
Nice. We're over here on the West Coast, so we haven't been too far east. I've been to Anthrocon once, but besides that, the furthest quote unquote east, I usually go to cons is TFF.
I would love to go to that someday.
It's really, really good. It's definitely one of my favorites. They changed hotels about what 3 years ago or something like that, and the new hotel is just an amazing, perfect place for a big con like this, and it's just so fun and well organized. Anyway, I highly do recommend it if you get a chance sometime.
I am moving out to Colorado, hopefully sometime this year. So
I might get to hug you with posies.
that would be fantastic.
That would be so pup-tastic. I agree. Well, this has been so educational and wonderful so far. I can't wait to see what else unfolds in front of our very nosies.
Well, I have a wallet. It does fold.
Mhm.
just like this.
And it's in front of your nosy. So there you are. There you are. Oh, wow. I'm so excited. I wag. So you have a fursona.
I do.
Tell us about your fursona and the inspiration for Mr. Fursona.
Well, going back again, I think Gargoyles and Spyro, I was kind of into dragons or those types of characters, and I think that's originally how it started off. And then I realized those are very difficult to make, and I kind of wanted to narrow it down from the rainbow sparkle dog that everyone kind of starts with, just this wide
Good
array
for
of
you.
imaginative
Yep.
things.
Good for you.
And so I kind of toned it down, took off the wings, and it ended up becoming more of like I guess you could. I get mistaken for a Sergal a lot, and it looks very
Hmm,
similar to that. I think I
really?
commissioned the character as a dragon wolf hybrid or something like that, and then I went to a convention in fursuit, and someone called me a kangaroo, and he has a shark fin for a tail fin, so they said a shark kangaroo and a sharkaroo, and it just kind of stuck. So I didn't even come up with that.
Okay.
A sharkaroo. I
So
love
you're a
it.
sharkaroo.
Hmm.
I should tell Renegade about that and see if he's heard of a sharkaroo. Maybe it's a cousin of his or something.
Renegade kangaroo, yeah.
Yeah. So how long have you had sharkaroo?
I commissioned him in 2018.
And here we are. Where are we? What time is not what time, what year is it now?
It's like, I don't know, a year and a half into the post furrycon apocalypse.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's a magical tree coming in
Well,
your
Don't worry about that.
it's just pay no attention to the woman behind the mask, behind the
Exactly.
screen. There's nothing going on here. Nothing to see, nothing to
Yes,
see at all.
I
It's
am
like,
married
That
to a
was
wonderful
actually
life.
amazing.
oh,
All
nice.
of a
Yeah.
sudden. So
Well,
for
she
any of
brings
our
you
listeners
waffles, so that's nice. Yeah.
for any of our listeners, because you can't see what just happened, but it's amazing. Like Tay is sitting there, and like behind him to the side, all of a sudden, this like plate of fun things. Yeah, there it is, just
There
kind
it
of
is. Yep.
hovered in,
Hovered right into him. Yep.
and
It's
then
amazing.
he took it, and that was it. And it's wow. I need to move to Baltimore. Apparently,
To be fair, I do like to cook a lot myself and try to help out as much as I can. So it's not typically like that, but
it's not
Nice.
okay.
Okay. All
We
right.
just got lucky. We just got
I'm
lucky.
I'm the hopeless romantic that the breakfast in bed kind of thing, and tries to
Aw.
get some chocolates and
Oh.
roses.
Aw, that's so cute.
So speaking of cute in Baltimore, how is the day and night different? Because that makes
Okay,
sense.
so again, I think there's a recurring theme of insanity here. My first outing in fursuit, I think, was like 3 days after I got it. A buddy of mine called Blueberry Wolf. He lives out in Colorado now, but he was another. My suit's from Twinkie Arts, so that's. I met him.
Okay.
He helped me get a commission and yada yada. So he's like, we should go to Baltimore. There is a Halloween themed costume race going on, and it's like at night. So
Costume
okay,
race.
sure, why not? It was like a 0.05K race. It was mostly just goofing around and getting drunk.
Oh,
So we showed up, the
okay.
only two furries there at night in Baltimore, and obviously looked very much out of place. Nothing crazy happened except for we got kind of harassed by the local news. I think 98 Rock. They were just like, "Oh, it's furries! Oh no, hide your kids!" kind of thing. And we're like, "Okay." Ironically, the costume judge happened to be a furry and gave us second place just out of spite of that person.
That is
Nice.
So
amazing.
Awesome.
we got
That's
free
like
tickets
so cool.
we got free tickets to a haunted house, and then I think as we were leaving, some random guy came up behind Blueberry and kind of started trying to box him in the face, and we're kind of like, "This is strange." Okay,
Don't box
and
me in the face.
yeah, and he couldn't really see him at first because he like kind of snuck up from underneath his armpit and came up and was like, "Whoa, surprise! I want to beat you up," and just jokingly. And then we're kind of like, "What do you want?" He's like, "Oh, hey, you guys got any bus money?" And like you're talking to a couple of fursuiters that are just walking by themselves in the streets of Baltimore. Like I don't think they have pockets.
Yeah.
Do you have any bus money? And it's like, here, why don't I just come up and like hit you in the face? Because why not? And like, oh, by the way, do you have any bus money? I need to get
It's just
home. My
bizarre.
wife is gonna
That
kill
was so
me.
weird.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very strange.
And the daytime is much different story. I went there with Chada Spots, who makes a
oh,
lot of music
nice.
videos. He had me and a group of people go down there during the daytime. We went to the Baltimore Inner Harbor, so it's a lot of like tourist attractions and a much wider variety of audience. It's just kind of the more normal side, I suppose, of Baltimore. And that was pretty well received. A lot of kids and parents and families just kind of all wanted pictures all the time. They somehow convinced me to get on a boat in the middle of the harbor, and at some point, I have a picture of it. There is a little girl on the other boat when they have like these. It looks like little cannons, like pirate cannons,
Hmm.
and it was staring right at me, like maybe 10 feet away. And I'm just thinking to myself, I really hope those don't work. Like I'm thinking it's going to spray out water, but the Baltimore Harbor water is not water you want to get hit with.
Ugh,
Uh-oh.
okay.
It's good to know. Good to know.
Keep that in mind if I ever go to Baltimore.
Yeah,
Don't go
definitely.
swimming in the harbor, please.
So, Guinness Brewery.
A local friend, Drakian, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, I believe so. He was like, "Hey, I have a group together. We want to kind of go, and we have a reservation at the only Guinness brewery in the United States," which I didn't know that was a thing. I just knew it was down the street from where I was living, so I was used to seeing it. And they're like, "Yeah, they'd love to have us. We have a private room. We'll just go there, entertain the people, and it's kind of an open garden area of places to go." And I think I made a YouTube video about it, just kind of talking about it. I wish I would have taken more video, but we just kind of were free entertainment for the night. And there was a lot of turning heads of people like, what are you doing here?
But,
And then
should I have my children?
yeah, and then the sun went down. Oh, I was hoping they hid their children because I have a 5 foot long tail, and
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
they
you could
like
kill
to
them.
chase and grab that and
Oh,
yank on
Yeah.
it.
other way
It is
around. Right, right,
it is
right.
not great. So I'm terrified of children, actually.
Yeah. No,
Well, it's a brewery, so there shouldn't be children around anyway.
You would think, but
Yeah.
there's an open area where they play.
yeah, I mean,
Oh,
this
okay.
this is Baltimore, remember, so
Oh,
they're a
it's
little
different.
different.
It's different back there, yeah. Things are different in Baltimore. That
Things are
should be the
different in
slogan on your
Baltimore.
license plate. Things are different in Baltimore.
That that's pretty much all there. So, did you know, Tay, that airports are scary?
Yes, especially
And
if
would you like to tell us why, in particular, airports are scary?
there's a deeper story to that. I was actually coming back from MFF. It was my second or third time there, and I swing through Columbus, Ohio to, drop off my local friends I go with. I drive all the way there from Maryland. It's a long drive. And I saw my parents' house, and they don't know I'm a furry. They don't know anything about the fursuits. I've never even spoken a word or anything about it. And it was at the point where I was like, you know what? I just don't care. If they see it, they see it. And so I just kind of came in like 10 p.m. at night. I was like, hey, I'm stopping by, wash the fursuit. So they woke up the next morning and saw them, and they're like, do you care to explain what I had my fursuit, I had a buddy's fursuit that I was washing for him, and yeah, so that was they're
Do
like,
we
"Oh."
need to hide our grandchildren?
Well, it's funny because they're like, "Well, grandma and grandpa are coming in from the airport tomorrow. You should dress up. It's around Christmas time. We'll put some Christmas bells on you,
Oh,
and I'll be
cool.
Santa
Oh,
Claus,
no.
Oh,
and you could be
no.
Santa Claus reindeer. A very strange looking reindeer, mind you.
Shark reindeer roo. Okay.
So we went to the Columbus International Airport. They ended up retweeting it, like the Columbus International Twitter page retweeted this when I posted about it. But we showed up, we explained to security like, "Hey, we're just here to meet my grandparents, yada." And they're just kind of like curiously staring at us the whole time. TUSA was having a field day. They had their cell phones out, like taking pictures from the,
Oh,
the
I bet.
security desk. So we
Cute.
surprised my grandparents, and she was just like, "You guys are nuts." So
Yep.
Like, yeah, well, yeah, duh. You didn't tell
Mhm.
us that.
yep,
We didn't know it.
runs with the
Nice.
family.
Well, obviously, I mean, you're a furry, right? So,
Yeah.
so Mr. Tay. Mr. Tay, do you see, I pity the poor fool that don't do my
It's
parkour.
Taebyn. His name is Thae with a th.
Oh, but okay, so I pity the poor fool that don't miss my Thay.
Yes, that is correct. I'm not picky about corrections, but I do realize that you would say that a lot because your name is Taebyn.
It is,
Yeah.
Makes
and
perfect
some
sense.
first, a lot of first call me Tay, so I think that's what
Mhm.
happened.
Mhm.
So Thay.
Just sit there with the
so so Thay, let's get into the crazy.
more crazy? Okay.
Okay. The crazy is the amazing thing you do called parkour.
Yes,
Yes.
that's a thing.
It is a thing.
I like your response to that. It's like this amazing thing that you do called parkour. And you're like, yes.
Neat.
Neat. Okay. So I mean, this is amazing stuff, of course, and I've seen some of your videos on YouTube. It's parkour stuff. It's amazing and great. Am I even pronouncing that right? I've never known if I've actually parkour.
Yes.
Okay, good for me. Not like Tay, because your name's not Tay. it's a parkour. So what got you into this wonderful, amazing, very vigorous sport, and how long have you been doing it?
So, again, back to high school, I was on the track team and I did hurdles, and I realized that I just wanted to do the hurdles. I didn't want to run. I just wanted to jump on
You
things.
just wanted
So
to
I
dive over things.
so after 6 months, or not, I don't even know if I made it 6 months. I quit the track team with a buddy, and we started a parkour club. And I had never heard of it. That was just kind of his idea, and then we just kind of ran with it, literally. ran with it.
Literally, you like
Um,
Literally.
literally
Yeah.
ran and jumped and dove and like ran into things.
So did he know what parkour was, or did you guys just, like, make this up
he had
and
looked
then
it up.
found out there was other things
Yeah,
about it?
he had looked it up,
Oh,
like the
okay,
history
okay.
of it, like founding in France from like, David Bell and Sebastian Foucan and all that kind
Ooh,
of
I'm
stuff.
writing it down those names. Say that
Um,
again. David Bell.
David Bell, Belle, and Sebastian Foucan, Foucan. So
That's
basically, it's in, and I've talked with at least Sebastian personally in person, and it's kind of like they put
Ooh,
a
cool.
name to something that has been around for ages. It's nothing like they didn't invent this parkour at free running. It's just it is the idea of movement, and they wanted to popularize it and make it into something that's a community, and they very much succeeded on that.
So how did they like why parkour? Is there like some other meaning? I mean, I know French but it doesn't ring a bell as to what that might mean.
I'm gonna hate myself for not remembering what the French meaning of parkour is. I think it's something along like the to run the path kind of thing. Like for example, someone who does parkour is known as a traceur. It's a French term.
La vache.
alright.
And like a lot of people, it doesn't really that big of a deal to make a difference between the distinctions between free running and parkour. But parkour is generally about getting from point A to point B as efficiently or quickly as possible, and free running is more about expression, like doing the flips and fluid movements and whatnot.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you're more parkour. You're just like I go here to there and I get there however I can.
Correct. My wife handles the flipping stuff. She's an actual gymnast, so
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, nice for her, good for her.
That works out like really well, it turns out, I bet.
so I am absolutely terrified of what our child will be in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, let's, just cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
Actually, you won't be crossing it, you'll be, like, diving and jumping over it and doing backflips onto the rails or something, I don't know.
Yes, and praying for sleep.
Exactly. So, you started this long ago, and I know the answer to my next question, but I'll let you tell all our listeners, do you do this in fursuit?
I do. I'm trying to think of where that idea even got into my head. I think
Well, you mesh the two hobbies together. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
basically, I think I was in someone else's fursuit at the time. I think it was Sabo Dog. I think he's out in Seattle, but I met him at MFF, and he's like, can you put my fursuit on and I'll take pictures of you, for himself kind of thing. And I was just okay, sure. And then I kind of got creative with it. I'm like, I know parkour. Let me
Hmm,
jump around and be all active and stuff. He's like, wow, this is fantastic. This is great. So, and I ended up running into Dog, a telephone, if you're familiar
oh, yeah, telephone.
with them.
Oh, yeah, we know telephone.
Yeah, she was. They were my initial inspiration for kind of first thing. I'd met them at Anthrocon. I'm like, this is a really cool character because they didn't do the talking. They did the acting. They spoke with their movements, with their noises, and that's kind of where I got the idea for doing parkour. I'm like, I have this
Okay.
hobby. I would like to communicate through movement. So a lot of times I'm not shy from talking in suit, but a lot of times I'll prefer to mime things or be just mischievous or just roll around and be playful with people and try to get them to engage that way.
And then now you have they, not Tay, Mike, or barely. Don't say Tay. But then you have they, and now you do that, and that's wonderful. And I've seen, as I say, some of your videos, both in and out of suit, and it's pretty great stuff. I mean, it really is. So is it very? It's got to be very very I guess the word is taxing and aerobic and takes a lot of muscle and a lot of everything. Is there something that's not obvious about it that we don't know about how amazing it is?
In terms of like why I do it or what kind of why I'm able to do it in fursuit, I guess.
Well, yeah, like physically. So one, you can just do it. I mean, just the fact that you can do the things you do is pretty amazing. And so physically, what kind of taxinations are there? And then in fursuit, what more does it take to do it in fursuit? And by the way, why is fursuit not totally destroyed by what I've seen you do in it?
There's a reason for that. I'll get to it. Try to remember these questions in order. I'm kind of having a One Punch Man moment. If you're familiar with that anime.
I am not, so
Oh, well,
Mm-mm.
I'm not
he's
helping.
Yep.
the basic premise is this anime character who can just defeat everything in one punch, and everyone's
Okay.
like, "How did you get so strong?" And he's like, I gonna misquote this, but he's like, "I did 10 push-ups, 10-kilometer run every day for the rest, for 3 years, and I got this powerful. Like there wasn't a secret powerful, origin for it. And that's kind of how I feel. I've just done conditioning. I just exercise. I'm a very active person. I think a lot of it comes down to a mindset, and parkour kind of goes in line with this. The idea is that you have an obstacle, and either mentally or physically, you have to work your way up by baby steps to getting over that obstacle, whether it is mental or physical. And I
Yeah,
think
that makes sense.
continuing to train and pushing yourself is just another obstacle in that
Okay, so
mindset.
so it's not just to like keep training, but you gotta push yourself to get over some of these mental and physical hurdles.
Correct, and I would caution that with saying baby steps, because a lot of people, because I've instructed at a gym for 3 years, so I've had a lot of students come through from ages 5 to 55, and a lot of times
Wow.
what they'll do is they'll jump too hard into it. They'll be like, I saw this and I want to recreate this, and there's a lot of coordination is the biggest thing, and so I try to
That makes sense.
get them to ground level and go through the basics, because that's the one thing I'm really good at is the basics. I don't really do much with like the flair or the really dangerous stuff or go rooftop to rooftop. I don't do any of that. I just do the I'm very good at the basics. Like if it was martial arts, I'm really good at like the five basic punches, and like that's it. But I'm really, really good at those five basic punches.
Good old one punch right there.
Yeah.
Yep. So have you met any famous parkourers?
Yes, like I mentioned before, Sebastian Foucan came to Washington D.C. to train at an event, and he's like, you're welcome to train with me, and he is a wealth of wisdom. I saw him in Casino Royale. He's the stuntman. He's the bad guy in the very beginning, like running along the
Oh,
train and whatnot. He
nice.
is a fantastic person. The way he looks at parkour, in his terms, more of his wheelhouse is free running, and it's more about playing. So to kind of summarize it in a more commonplace sense, it's kind of like when kids play on a playground and how beneficial that is to their coordination, their stamina, their athleticism. And then for some reason, as adults, we just stop doing that,
Mhm.
and then we think that working out is just, I'm going to do this machine for an hour a day
Mhm.
every day, and it just becomes monotonous, and you might lose motivation or just wonder like, okay, your biceps are very, very strong and they look great, but what about the rest of these? There's hundreds of muscles in your body that don't get any attention, that if you like, catch yourself just the right way, you might pull something. So that's kind of the concept, is just, it doesn't matter what you call your movement or how often you move or how you move. It's as long as you keep moving, you keep
Hmm,
having
keep
fun,
moving.
you keep playing, and that is the most important thing, which is why I thought it meshed really well with fursuiting, because it's very lighthearted, playful. I don't want to say animalistic or like feral type of movement, but it is a primal type of thing.
And you're not jumping rooftop to rooftop, and so that's actually that's I appreciate that. That's very safe of you. I like that.
Yes,
We
I,
I
I have adult
will
obligations.
that you
Yes,
do,
yes.
and that means I will get a chance to hug you with Pawsy someday. So that's wonderful. I want to go back really quick. I want to talk about this famous parkourers thing, but because I am really curious about how does fursuit exist still?
Yes. So I had a long conversation with Twinkie Arts, and I was explaining them in detail of exactly everything I wanted, and like, this is what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to completely destroy it, and I needed to withstand that. So it's two major things: the design of the suit and the way I do movements is the two key things. Besides conditioning, obviously, like I have to have a lot of stamina to do the things I do in
Oh
fursuit.
yeah.
I have,
Oh
yeah.
my cow.
I
Yes, you
overheat
do.
Mhm.
super quick, and I take breaks a
Mhm.
lot. So outside of that, so the fursuit is stitched. Everything is double stitched with elastic, so it is very flexible. It is very form fitted to me specifically. So, and I love doing suit swaps, but it's very rare that I find someone who can actually fit in the suit. But it's basically like I don't know, super suit from like a comic book. It is specifically built to handle things. Like the paws are sewn on so they don't fly off. I have little wrist slits so I can use my thumb to operate a phone. The head is very, very tight. There are no fans in it because I didn't want any kind of
Yeah.
things to get hit
Right.
or damaged.
Pros and cons to that.
Yes, I wish I
Because
had fans.
holy
Mhm.
pup. Yes.
Yeah, but it is a very, no kidding, I am in that suit with no special anything. There's no fans, no cooling vest, no nothing. It's just me and a carpet.
Yes, and a carpet, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
there's a
then
reason you take a break every 2.5 or 1.5 seconds.
correct. And a lot of that just been doing practicing training. I'll practice, outside of suit, obviously, and then I will practice in suit if I have a location that people don't like call the cops on me. There's this random sharkaroo hopping on the playground right now.
Like when
Um,
everyone
Wow.
hides their children all of a
mhm.
sudden.
And
Does your long tail throw you off balance at all?
I thought it would, but I really don't notice other
Really?
than when I
Hmm.
kick it. And when I kick it, it's so light and fluffy, it just kind of bounces out of the way.
Oh, so
Alright.
it's not a really heavy thing.
Correct. Yeah.
So back to famous parkour. I mean, and the only thing I have to say about this is there's only like one other parkour I actually know of,
Mhm.
and that's Tyser Tiger. Do you know
Yes.
Tyser?
I've met them on Twitter and we've had just comments back and forth, but I don't think I've had like a actual conversation with them or met them in person at all. From what I can tell, they are in more of like the circus realm of things and are much more, I would say, agile than I am in terms of like just watching the precisions of their movement of like how they pull off things and just watching them in and out of suit. I'm like, I would never try that in my suit, but very impressive.
Tyser's pretty great too. I mean,
So
you are too, of course. You're
yeah.
amazing.
So you mentioned circus realm. What is that?
I think it's just because I've seen videos of them kind of doing more like circus stunts, or I think posting about getting ready for different events and stuff like that. So I'm assuming that's where they primarily use that skill at. Versus I'm just an enthusiast. I
Okay.
don't do this
All right.
professionally.
Although I think about that video Tyser has about parkouring around on that playground all over the place. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen that video. I don't know.
In
You did a
Fursuit,
similar thing though. I saw a video of you doing a similar thing, just kind of doing your thing and rolling around in a way I could never roll around. And I am a pup, and I roll around a lot. But you were doing some pretty good rolling around there, I must say.
I have a lot of practice. I've been doing this since 2007.
That's a lot longer than
Long
this
play.
pup has
Yeah.
been alive. So definitely.
So, and that's going back to why Thae isn't in shambles right now, because you will get friction damage very quickly if you don't do it correctly. So a lot of my movements, the way I practice them and knowing my limits of like how far I can do something without risking it going wrong. So for example, like if I'm jumping to something, I jump up and down onto it rather than to it. So that way I don't have
Mm,
any horizontal
okay.
momentum that could potentially scuff the paws or cause me to trip or things like that.
There's physics involved.
Oh, there is a lot of physics involved. So everything
Yes.
that I do in suit is like maybe 70% of what I can actually do without a suit.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, that
nice.
makes sense. I've already mentioned several times that I've seen some of your videos on YouTube. But for our
Yes.
listeners, could you let us know what kinds of things do you post there on your YouTube?
It's been a bit of a back and forth. It's just been, again, it's a hobby. So I just be kind of, I post fursuit stuff, I post parkour stuff, sometimes video game shenanigans. And I don't really have much time these days, especially with the pandemic. It's hard to collaborate with people and having adult obligations, like I said, a full time job, family. So I'm kind of leaning more into TikTok these days. I just made an account a couple days ago. So that's kind of
Oh,
where I'm hanging out currently. But
oh,
YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, it's all the same. Hey, it's they. So HeyItSthae.
all one word, no underscores.
Correct.
So these various things, well, let's not talk about how long you've had Twitter because everyone's had Twitter forever. But so how long have you had the YouTube and the TikTok? You just had a few days ago. So
Mhm.
what motivated your to? That sentence wasn't going to make any sense.
I think I see where you're going with this, though.
I think I was going to say what motivated your to, and that doesn't make any sense grammatically. But I'm not a grammar pup, so we'll just let you answer that because you know where I was going with that.
But the message has been received, so well done.
Well,
Um,
okay.
I think so. Oh boy, more fun stories. I don't know if you're familiar with Mark Sparks.
Yes. Yes.
I actually ran into him at work. I did not know that we worked together.
Really?
Yeah, he was the
That's
first person
crazy.
I'd ever met. This was back when he was still in the military, and I'm kind of like, "What? There's another furry here? What?" Um,
There's another
and I
furry in existence?
and I had no idea who he was, and I think this is he helped me kind of get a commission. We all kind of sat down and figured stuff out because they were really cool bunch of local guys. I ended up at his house a couple days, maybe a week after I had my suit to do a collaboration. I think it was non-furries judge fursuiters part 4 or something like that.
I saw that just
Um,
today, yes.
Hilarious video. So I was over for that, and around the same time, I think Majir had stopped by for something to say hello. And this is like the only reaction I've ever had with him is I was rolling around in fursuit on his carpet, having no idea who these YouTube stars were, at least in the fandom. Just rolling around, just ignoring him, just minding my own business, and he just
I'm just gonna roll around because
kind of
why
looked at
not?
me like this man is insane. I don't know what he's doing on this floor, but I'm going to go mind my own business over here. So that was about it. And then Mark kind of inspired me to start making YouTube videos because doing parkour in a fursuit, obviously you probably want to catch it on a video. Pictures just don't do it justice.
And it's not very often you see that. So
Correct. So
Yeah.
I thought of doing YouTube videos, but it never really got into the groove of being a true cinematographer. Like I did enjoy editing videos, but most of them end up being kind of montages and not really a lot of planning involved. So obviously, stuff like Vine would be a much better platform for the stuff that I do. But then Vine up and just
went
ceased to
bye-bye.
exist. So now that TikTok is a thing,
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be spending a lot more time on TikTok rather than YouTube, mostly because it
Okay.
requires a lot less time.
It does, because they're like
Yeah.
15 seconds videos as opposed to 15 minutes or
Yep,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what types of videos are your favorite to make so far? And what do you anticipate the TikTok, your favorite things to do?
This is kind of where I started kind of slowing down momentum with YouTube. Is it became less of what I wanted to do and more of like what should the audience want to see. And with TikTok, since there's a lot less commitment to individual pieces of
Hmm.
content, I would like to get back to focusing on stuff that I just feel like doing. Maybe it's just
Yep.
harassing the cats around the house with a fursuit and just recording that.
That would
Um,
be amazing. Yep,
just
I
silly
support
things like
this.
that. I do plan on just posting mostly clips that I'll chop up from YouTube. I'll put some of those on TikTok and then new stuff. So I would like to post just me being myself outside of suit as well, but not like all the time. I just kind of a sprinkle of me doing silly things. That is essentially what it's going to boil down to. But I did have a plasma shield prop that I made at some point. There's a video I think on YouTube of me playing around with it, but I did want to go to a friend's house and have a bunch of cardboard boxes and recreate a scene from I think Captain America Winter Soldier where he's just going through an office just bashing down doors, just
Nice.
sprinting the whole time. So I kind of wanted to do that.
Sounds
That'd be
good. Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Silly ideas.
So you lived in Japan for a few
I
years.
did.
And this pup has actually been to Japan a few times. It didn't live there, just visited. Great place. So I'm actually very interested to hear about where you lived in Japan and what brought you there and what you liked about it and all of that. And it would be really interesting to hear how it corresponded with this pup's experiences.
Man, I might have lost for words because it was honestly I had just joined the military. It was my first assignment, after high school,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just kind of one of those. That was my first time away from family, like completely away from the United States or anywhere. So it was kind of a out of the I can't remember the phrase when out of the frying pan into the fire or what have you.
Out of the
That's the
fishy
phrase.
into
Okay.
the don't touch
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Basically, so it's just a lot of self discovery in a place that is so different. There are some similarities to America, but they do. I don't want to be biased here, but they do so many things better than we do in
Oh,
America.
yes. I agree. I agree
I
100%.
would go
Yeah.
back there any day and live there
Mhm.
if I had the opportunity to.
It's so different too. Like when this pup was there, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm a pup and I don't know how to do things, but I was so bad at things. Oh my cow. I
But they're
was
so
just,
patient with you.
Mhm.
yeah, they did. They just pet me a little bit and said, it's okay.
Hmm.
Try again, wag your tail. And so I wagged my tail and they pet me some more and then everything was fine. Even getting on the bus, I was so bad at.
Did you ever go happen to buy a Lawson's, like the kind of like a 7-Eleven equivalent? Well, that's an American thing. I don't know if that's.
I don't think so.
It might be
I
more
mean,
like
very possibly.
because I live more in like rural Japan, like the northern or the main island. Lawson's is kind of like a 7-Eleven, and I lost my wallet in there, and I'm in my car like trying to figure out where my wallet is, and a Japanese man comes out and he's like, "Hey, I think this is yours," and I was like, "Wow, thank you!" Like,
Thank you. Yeah.
you
You
know, that's
didn't
not gonna happen
steal
in
it and
America.
run away?
No.
Yeah,
No.
very very nice.
Oh, no,
Mhm.
no, they were so nice over there. Oh my cow. It was I have stories, but not gonna tell them because that would just bore you, but they're so nice.
They have great little trees too.
Bonsai trees.
Bonsai. Bonsai.
Uh-oh,
Yes.
I mean,
uh-oh,
everything just looks
Uh-oh.
so naturally pretty
uh-oh.
over there.
Yeah.
Say that again, Thae? The little trees, how do you pronounce that?
Oh no, did I pronounce them incorrectly?
The episode hasn't come out yet where we talk
Oh,
about this.
okay.
I
So you
know.
haven't
It'll
heard it yet. But
Yep. Yep.
this would be a great follow-up. I think this would be a great test to all
Mhm.
of our listeners. So listeners, push pause, take 2 seconds and remind us how to pronounce the name of the little trees if you listen to I think it would have been last week's episode. Is it last week's
2
or a
weeks
few weeks
ago.
ago? 2
2
weeks
weeks ago.
ago. Unpause and see how Thae pronounces it.
I'm gonna say it incorrectly, and I know it because I've never really heard it from anywhere else.
I want Thae to so Thae is an expert, so it's gonna tell us how not to pronounce it.
Okay,
So, let's go.
in that case, I feel well qualified to say bonsai.
And you are correct that is the incorrect
Incorrect.
way
All
to
right, good,
pronounce it.
awesome.
The correct pronunciation is bonsai.
Interesting.
It's a long O.
My husband actually came on and told us the proper pronunciation and some history, some very interesting history behind that. Actually, history that you would not expect behind that word. Actually, so I guess shout out to us. Take a listen.
Sure, take a listen to that episode. So let me ask you a question about doing parkour. Did you do that in Japan at all?
I did.
Oh,
It
did
was
you?
Oh, cool.
fantastic. I wish I had
Nice.
the time. Again, living in rural Japan, I only went to Tokyo a couple times. So I wish I would have met up with like local, tracers that were into that kind of thing because just the spots there are amazing. And if you're familiar with a parkour group from the UK called Storer, STORROR, they did this thing called Roof Culture Asia, where they go to like Tokyo and stuff like that and jump across rooftops.
Wow.
At ground level, people don't have a problem with you jumping on things, but when you're on rooftops, Japan is very, very strict in policing people on
Ah.
rooftops.
Okay, I'm gonna
Imagine
have to
that.
check that out. Yeah.
You're on property at that point. You're on somebody's property,
Exactly.
so there's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it is a fantastic documentary if you ever get the chance to watch it.
Yeah, I wrote that down. No, that's very, very exciting. You know what else is exciting, Mr. Thae? This is the big question we have all been waiting for. Are you ready?
I guess so. Yeah, sure.
Good. The question is, tell us. Well, I guess it's not a question. It's like tell us about. So tell us about your favorite plushie.
My favorite plushie. Ooh, do I own plushies?
Do you?
Question mark. I'm trying to think of
Looks
some off the top of
around.
my
Looks
head.
around.
I don't think I actually own a plushie. That is crazy.
And you call yourself a furry?
Yeah, I thought about getting my character commission. That's the thing. It's just that's been my one thing is my one persona, my one character that I've never really thought to like, let's go buy a plushie of another character. I've always just been
Mhm.
focused on that.
Okay.
Mhm.
But I very much would like a
Okay.
plushie of them. No, I'm trying to think. There is Kraft Lawrence from I can't remember where they're from or why we named him that, but he is a Shiba Inu plushie
Okay.
that I think I bought for my wife for an anniversary. She's gonna kill me if she listens to this, because I'm sure I'm forgetting where it's from. But it came from somewhere,
You're
and
outed now.
it's in the bedroom, and I think it's hilarious that we named it Kraft Lawrence. I think it might have been a reference to an anime called Spice and Wolf.
So instead, what is one of your favorite songs?
Ooh, the first thing that popped in my head when you said that was "Somewhere I Belong" by Linkin Park. It
Nice.
was the very
Really?
first music video I'd
Nice.
ever seen.
Hmm.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, no, that was back in the day. So cool. Very cool. So I have to know, what do you think about new Linkin Park versus old Linkin Park? And by old Linkin Park, I mean their first two albums. And by new, I mean everything since then.
Well, I don't really have any strong opinions, but I did notice I stopped listening to them I really
After the
only listened
second
yeah,
album,
exactly.
maybe?
So I'm not gonna say that they're not good songs. It's just I am personally not interested because it may have just been at that point in my life I was obsessed with them, and nowadays I've just kind of on my own way.
That's a really good save because,
Hmm.
like, now, okay, I won't get into it. I'll just say this pup prefers the old stuff. And we'll leave it at that.
And
Great.
I do too for my own reasons, but I don't think just because one particular audience ceases to like a piece of artistic work that it means that the artistic work is bad.
No, no.
True.
I
True. Yeah.
actually, when I think back, I think you're right. Like, I stopped just listening to them after their second album. I still think their first album is like the best. So
Yeah.
are there any other things you would like our listeners to know about you or your lack of plushies?
My
Say
lack of
or
plushies.
something?
I'm glad I don't provide my address publicly, or else I'd get sent plushies.
Oh
You would.
yes. 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 Hmm.
I think the closest thing I have to like a personal plushie, and I'm only saying this because I see it in the background of my videos. There's a katana there from Japan.
Hmm.
That's and there's a 9 3/4 pillow.
Hmm.
That's a form of a
Yeah.
plushie, I suppose.
My husband actually has a few katanas. And do you collect katanas and knives and swords and things?
I don't. It was I've been living here for 2 years. I should probably have some souvenirs before I leave. So I bought it like the week before I got on the airplane.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
okay. Good, good. No, there you go. You gotta have it's the authentic touch. You don't want a bunch of them because then it's not authentic. Then you're just like, "Oh, hey, look, a collector, he's got a bunch." But now it's
Yep.
authentic.
It's definitely a display sword that I bought for like 2,000 yen, which is like $20. So it's by no
Not
means
bad.
an authentic katana.
But, I mean, we can pretend. It looks nice back there.
It does. I almost got cut open with it one day. It is sharp enough to do that.
So it is authentic in that it can hurt you a lot, so that's good to
Yes.
know. You
Yes.
can definitely cut cheese if you had some crackers and you had some cheese that you needed to cut and nothing else. Well, I got my katana, so,
Yep. I feel like the blade would actually just break off at some point if you actually try to cut something with it.
like cheddar cheese, because cheese is hard.
I don't know. That's a good question because it seems like it's just bolted onto the hilt there. So it's just gonna fall off any day now.
Not the cheese, but the katana.
Yes.
The cheese isn't bolted. Okay, good, good.
No,
I'm
I
glad
bolt my
we
cheese to
certified.
the kitchen counter every time I cut it. Why do you not do that where you're
You
from?
do you know I mean, what's wrong with me? Come on, I mean,
That sounds like a Baltimore thing.
Yeah.
must
Well,
see again, Baltimore. Like,
Mhm.
I'm from
only in
Columbus,
Baltimore.
Ohio, so I don't claim Baltimore as my
Columbus,
home.
Ohio. Yeah, yeah.
Ohioans are a bit strange.
Yeah, yeah. I went to school in Ohio, so
Oh,
I
really?
know.
Where at?
Yeah. I went I went to the University of Steubenville in Steubenville,
That
Ohio.
sounds familiar. I may have been there, like, drove through there once.
Yeah, yeah. It's right on the West Virginia border.
Okay,
Actually,
yep.
How
it's right
many
across the
jokes do
river.
you hear about that, like, all the
Yeah, a
time?
lot, a lot. I hear a
Like,
lot about
I'm
that.
purposely holding my tongue because I know it's nothing you haven't heard, so
Yeah, well, Steubenville's claim to fame is that that's where Dean Martin was born and raised. So,
Hey, that's
Oh,
something.
really?
yeah, that's it. So, as we wrap this up, normally we ask our guests for a parting shot, like words of wisdom to the fandom. So, what would you like to say to the fandom?
Words of wisdom is honestly echoing what I learned from Sebastian Foucan, where it doesn't matter what you call your movement or what you're doing for it. Just as long as you continue to move, as long as you continue to be active. I think that's the biggest thing I see. That fursuiter or no fursuiter, just living life. Try to have fun. You go out there and play. Like I literally see the world as a big playground, and it's fantastic. I think that has been the most beneficial thing that has helped me get through COVID and just through life of just going outside and unplugging and just being like, you know what, I'm gonna just, hop on these stairs or, baby steps and just go for a run. Don't do it for time. Don't do it to try
Just do it.
and yeah, just do it. Just go out there and have fun. That's what it's all
That's
about.
beautiful.
Cool. Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Hey, thanks for coming on our show. It's been great to have you. I know that it was last minute, but I appreciate you jumping
Like,
in at the last
literally.
minute. Yeah, literally last minute. So that was great that you were available to do this. And I hope that everything goes well for you. And I hope that you continue to do parkour and do not get hurt doing it. Please don't get hurt. You have adult obligations, as you have pointed out several times. So it would not be good for you to get hurt doing that. And hopefully we'll be able to see you at a con sometime. Based on how much you say you roll around on the floor, I feel that there would be a problem with you and Taebyn getting together.
See, that's what I'm thinking.
That
I
sounds like
knew
a
where your
fun
brain was
time.
going, and I know that's kinda true.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Well, we're gonna let you go.
But first, I'm going to
Say, what are you gonna
say
say, Taebyn?
I want to say bye-bye.
I was just gonna say thank you so much for accommodating me last minute. My
Oh,
life is
perfect.
hectic, so last minute is normal for me.
Oh,
But yeah, this has been fantastic speaking to you guys. I'd love to hear more from you on the podcast in the future.
good.
Cool,
No,
cool, cool. All right.
that's very, very kind of you to listen to our little thing that we do, and I'm glad you like it. And I'm still very impressed. What was it? The Ohio reference thing that you did a little bit ago? The Ohio,
What?
because you knew that Ohio furs listen
Oh,
to us.
the Ohio, Columbus. We have no reason. We have no
Oh,
idea why Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah.
is one of our number one cities. We
I
have no
think
But
idea.
the point you made, you said, I think Anthracon's close by. I guess I don't know because I have a lot of friends that I talk to a lot that are in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm like, huh,
huh,
weird.
just
Either
as a big
I've
furry
known them
following.
forever, or every time I go back home, I meet more Columbus, Ohio furries. I don't know what it is.
So
Something weird. Something weird.
something weird.
Yeah.
So if you happen to know any fur that lives in Columbus that might know why it's popular out there, this podcast, then have them send in an email. We're always looking for emails and stuff. So anyway, but again, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for listening. That's so wonderful. It's been really fun to talk to you and learn about stuff. The parkour thing is just always been amazing to me. So it's been really great to talk to you about that and the fursuiting and everything. So again, I can't wait. As Barely said, I can't wait to hug you in Pawsy someday. It'll be great. And then, until then, I wag, I bark, and bark, bark.
What a great guy. I don't know how anybody could run in a fursuit the way he does. That's incredible.
I don't even know how anyone can run any weight like he does. Like, the parkouring thing is just so amazing to me and everything.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Not
yeah, he
something you
was
wanna try?
um, no.
Okay. I thought
It
maybe,
actually looks scary too.
the next time we go to BLFC, you could just parkour through the parking lot. You
I
can
sh
parking lot
lot
or. How's that?
I think parking lot cour. I'll
Yeah.
just try that. That'd be great. Yeah, yeah. No, he was a lot of fun to talk to. Yeah, he was very cool. I hope to meet him in person someday. In person someday. And yeah, that was very cool to hear him say that he's moving to Colorado soon. So maybe TFF someday I'll get a chance, and maybe I'll come over to some West Coast cons. We'll see him at Further Confusion and things like that. So that'd be
Yeah,
great.
absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time we move to our next section. What do you say?
Next section shall be administered. It's administered now.
Administered. Okay.
It's a very medicinal thing. We shall administer the next section of the fluff right now.
All right. So I have a comment I want to make to you, Taebyn. You
Uh-oh.
say this a lot on our show. For every fur that's listening. Now, are there furs that are not listening that can hear your message? That's a
Well,
question.
that is a question, and it's a pretty good one.
Mhm.
And ha probably not. That's actually a really good question. So for every fur
That's
that's
listening.
not listening, you wouldn't know because you're not listening. So
You're not listening. There you are. All right.
that's a very good question.
Mhm.
I don't have a good
Well,
answer.
I know. I picked up on that. You said for every fur that's listening. It's like, well, okay. Isn't that every fur that's listening
Because they are?
are listening? Hmm. I wonder if we have.
Mm.
Well, we have non-furs that listen too, but they are
Um,
quickly becoming furs by listening, I think, or they're going to be locked up because they listened to us. So,
yeah, that's exactly what I
mhm.
was just thinking.
All right. So, you know what time it is? It is time for that famous section, that wonderful section that we all love, that we wait every week with bated breath for Taebyn to announce. It is time for Furries in the News.
Oh, I'm swallowing something not correctly. Furries. Why am I thinking furry? Furry. Exactly. Yeah. Nah, 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 nah. Please just, you should just stop this now.
One of these days, ladies, gentlemen, furs, and children, poor Taebyn's going to have an aneurysm doing that.
I think I just did.
All right. So we have a short story for Furries in the News, and it popped up on a feed from Input Magazine. So www.inputmag.com. So that is INPUTMAG.com. And it's about when I first saw it, it said furry scientist, and I thought, oh, it was for science. But it's not. This is a total different type of scientist. This is a real live scientist that she was actually helped create the Moderna vaccine for COVID. She's part of the team that did that, and she's been ridiculed and doxxed on social media over her involvement in the furry fandom.
Because she's not only on that team, but she's on another team.
It's funny because she stayed the course and she's an awesome fur. The article says that it was just fantastic, as she recalls going into creating the Moderna vaccine and how exciting it was when it worked.
Or
And
was she talking about being in the furry fandom and going to cons? That's how I read the article, but maybe
I read the article that she was excited because the vaccine worked.
Oh, I
Wow. So I read it as from coming from that side of it, and you read it coming from the other side of it. So, hey, there we go.
yeah,
And then
that's
yeah.
interesting because that paragraph it's like a new paragraph, so we don't really know. Anyway, okay,
Right.
maybe they
Yeah.
were both fantastic.
And maybe, who knows? Who knows? But go read the article. If you look it up, it'll be there. I'll put the link in the show notes below,
Mhm.
so you can look at that. You can look up the article and the artwork that she had drawn for her. It's adorable.
Yes, I agree. Uh-huh.
She's a little red and white. I want to say fur martin, but that's not it. What is it? It's
Pine Martin?
pine martin, fur martin, a
That
little
works
fur
too.
martin. Yeah. And she's got brown spots and everything. And when COVID-19 struck, her name is Chise, Chise, and she saw on Twitter that her fellow furries were puzzled. I'm not surprised that furries were puzzled over a disease. It was nice that they had a scientist to explain it to them. She had the scientific know-how to translate it into furry speak, I guess.
There's
Maybe.
lots of
It's like,
henlos and oos and stuff.
and oos and oos and wacka wackas and other things. And
Wacka-wackas?
wacka wackas and pod tides and or tide pods and what's that thing? Oh, dabbing. So there's all that stuff. She explained it with all of that.
That's the only way to do it.
So COVID-19 is like dabbing at a con. Don't do it.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
And so she did tweets and stuff, but she has really become the scientific community is glomming onto her being a furry and saying because she's a furry, her opinions aren't legit, which is just
Well,
ridiculous.
that's not right. That's
That's
almost
just
as ridiculous as my furries in the news thing.
Right. Almost. But she sounds like a great person, and we have reached out to have her on our show as a guest.
Oh.
So
well, there you go.
Hopefully she can talk directly to us about how she explained COVID to furries.
With dabbing and stuff. And maybe she'll actually help us out with explaining in terms of barking pineapples.
Yes, maybe. Do you have anything newsworthy, or should I move on to upcoming events?
I have no media that has happened to me this week.
Okay, cool. So next week, June 24th through the 27th, at the Doubletree by Hilton in Portland, Maine, of course, is PortCon Maine. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. So if you're attending next week, let us know how it goes. Give a call in or a shout out or a email telling us how things are going at PortCon Mail. Yeah, PortCon Mail, PortCon Maine, not mail. Not mail. You might be a male at PortCon Maine. You might be a minor at the Maine, but whatever. Have fun with that.
You might be a penguin.
You might be a penguin.
Well, actually, no, probably not, because Ziggy has you now, so probably not.
Could be. So Ziggy penguins, poor penguins. Oh, I did see in the chat where Ziggy was posted pictures of the snow where he's at because it's winter down there.
Oh yeah. I saw that too. Yeah, it's very cold. Whereas up here, it was 91 recently.
91 this week.
Cooled off a little bit, but no snow.
Yeah, no snow. But I thought it was funny when he posted pictures of snow, and somebody in the chat said, "Are you in Montana?" It's like, no, it's still summer in Montana here.
Yeah, no.
Where it's winter south of the border. It's summer, or it's winter south of the equator. So, well, it's a math week, and I would like to point out or ask our furs and the world to you. Do you have math questions? Do you have problems with your math? Would you like some answers from a math professional? If so, write into BFFT with your math problems and math questions, and our resident expert, Taebyn, will answer any and all questions that you might have about math.
You might need some Thae. Do not refer this to any other people because your doctor might not approve. I don't know. I was trying to do the doctor thing, but it didn't work.
I'm not a doctor, but I do play one on television. Those are the old ads.
Were they the old ads?
They would say that's like, yeah, they would be like when you'd see a commercial and there'd be a doctor dressed in a doctor suit, with a little stethoscope hanging around his neck. And he said, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on television. But 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Bayer aspirin for minor aches and pains. If you're not a doctor, why would you dress like a doctor?
Yeah, and what if someone over 18 wants to take it? I mean, if you can only use it for minor ache and pains.
That's true. That would be Bayer baby aspirin.
Yeah, Bayer baby. Or what if you're busy digging for coal and you need something? Well, I guess that is for you then. Because it's minor ache and pains.
Oh, a minor aches and pains. Yes.
I like what your face just did. It was amazing.
What?
What are you talking about? It's not even on the menu.
There you go. So what do you have for us in math, Mr. Matthew Fur?
The math this week I have is one, it was asked. I'm going to say two things. The first one actually leads up to the second in a way. So the
Hmm.
first thing is some Fur had asked, what is the hardest thing in math for me to explain?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of what I'm going to say is kind of obvious, but I think it's true that two things I think make math hard to explain to other furs or other people, and one is a lack of mathematical background. Like if I'm just talking to some fur about some mathematical concept, I don't know what background they have, so I might say some things that they just don't know that stuff that prerequisite knowledge. And so that's fine, maybe I can just explain it to them, whatever, but that can kind of make things hard to explain because you don't know what other furs know or don't. One of the things that makes math really hard sometimes to explain is the abstract. So whether or not it has to do with numbers or a difficult concept or something abstract that is very non-seeming mathy because there's no numbers around or something, that can make things difficult too. Because it's a different way of thinking when you start talking about abstract math. So for any fur that's out there, if you've taken your first term of linear algebra, that's a little more concrete. But if you take the second term linear algebra, it's more abstract and it's hard to grasp. I'm happy to talk to any fur about abstract linear algebra if you want some time because it's awesome stuff. Anyway, the second thing I want to talk about, which is actually more mathy, I want to talk about transcendental and irrational numbers.
Transcendental numbers?
Transcendental numbers and irrational
Do they
numbers.
transcend other numbers, like transcendental meditation?
In a sort of way, but no.
Okay.
But
Okay.
no.
All right. Well, there
They
you go.
don't.
Okay.
And I was going to preface this by saying there's lots of opportunities for puns. So I guess I won't even do them. I'll let you have at it, barely, because you already did.
Okay.
First of all, let me talk about irrational and rational numbers, which I think I might have talked about before, and I think a lot of furs know what these are. But a rational number is, should I wait for you to say something first, barely?
No, say it again. What?
A rational number is
Somebody that I can't come up with a joke. Why can't I come up with a joke?
I don't even know. So
Why
okay,
is
well,
I'm so sad.
I'll just go on, and you'll have more chances. So it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Right. Mhm.
Okay. So a rational number is a number. It's a fraction, basically, a number that can be written as an integer divided by another integer. Okay, great. An irrational number is just a number that's not rational. Well, that makes sense. Now, equivalent.
It's a number that runs amok. There you go. It's irrational. There you are.
There we did it. We
Yes,
did it.
there
We
is.
did. I
I
knew
knew
you
I'd
could
come up
do
with
it.
something sooner or
Something.
later.
Equivalent definitions are a rational number is a number that in decimal form,
Mhm.
there's only a finite number of decimals, right? It
Okay.
stops. It doesn't go on forever. So an irrational number then is one that written in decimal form, the decimals point numbers go on forever. Don't stop. There's an infinite number of decimals. So for
Okay.
example, 2, 1/2, 3, 4, any fraction, it's a rational number. An irrational number example is square root of 2. It's actually not too hard by just algebra to show that the square root of 2 is an irrational number. As a decimal, the numbers are never ending.
Hmm.
Other examples of irrational numbers are pi, the number pi, 3.1415
Yes.
forever, ever, which is actually interesting because if you think the definition of pi, it's defined as the ratio of a circumference to the diameter. So it looks like it's a fraction, but it's not. It's actually irrational. Because the thing is, even though if the diameter is an integer, the circumference is not going to be an integer. Anyway, another example of an irrational number is the number e. Now, have you heard of the number e, Barry?
The number E? I've heard of the letter E, never the number E.
Right. So E is a little less known. I mean, so for any sciencey furs out there, you've probably heard of the number E, but it's the base of the natural logarithm. So it's the number 2.717, and it goes on forever. In any case, it's a well-known irrational number. Is the point? I'm going to bring up the number E. Well, we've talked about on a previous math, e to the I pi is -1.
Okay, I remember you saying
Euler's,
that. Yes.
so E, that's the number E. It's
That's
called
the E.
Euler's. Yeah, that's the E.
Oh, so it starts they gave him the first because of his name starts with the E.
Yeah, yeah.
So
This
they
makes
named
sense.
the number after him, I guess.
They named the number after him because that's what they do a lot in math and science. Is they name things after people if they discovered it or whatever. I don't know.
Wait a minute. Speaking of that, I happen to know for a fact that math symbols were not really created until like the 18th century. Before that time, they wrote out in the plain language
Oh,
what
right,
the
yeah.
numbers were.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, they didn't use symbols for a long time.
right.
Like, if you
Yeah.
look at the old math books and stuff, they're just
Mhm.
all it looks like a philosophy book because it's just all it's a big book of, like, just
Uh-huh.
it looks like just a book, but it's not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just happened to know that off the top of my head for some reason, and I thought I'd throw that out there because
There it
there
is.
you go.
No, yeah, it's very it made so since we've sidetracked, symbolism, I think a lot of furs might get a little frustrated sometimes with math because there's all this notation and everything and all these complicated words and stuff. But the point of the symbols and the words are to express big, huge concepts very shortly and concisely. And at
Mhm.
first, until you're used to it, yeah, it's very frustrating because sometimes it can take some time to get used to. But once you're used to the symbols, it actually makes understanding a lot easier and more
Mhm.
efficient.
It's the language of math.
It's the language of math. I mean, math is a language on its own, and so it's kind of like anyway. Those are irrational. Oh yeah, coming back to
Coming back to the we derail often, so
and since the train is now, like, in the river, like, there's no way we
it's
can
now a
get back
boat.
on rail.
Yeah,
There's no boat.
it's a boat.
Did you just turn Canadian?
A boot? I'm
Yeah.
oot and a boot. Yeah. I'm out and about, oot and a boot. Yeah. Anyway,
So,
irrational numbers,
those are
because
rational numbers.
we are an irrational podcast, so let's talk about irrational numbers.
But let's instead move on to talking about algebraic and transcendental numbers,
Oh, yes, transcendental.
and I'll come back to the irrational thing in a moment.
Is that
So,
wait a minute, transcendental, is that what trans people have when they go to the dentist?
I mean, I told you there's a lot of chances, and I'm just leaving all the chances to you. I was going to say what you just said, but I thought, no, that barely
Nope.
say it. Nope.
Yeah, okay, uh-huh.
So, so an algebraic number is a number that is a root of a polynomial. So, barely, do you remember what a polynomial is?
I could say yes, and you would be none the wiser, but I'm going to say no, because I don't.
Okay, so it's
Is
just
it a nomial that has more than one boyfriend? A polynomial? Wow.
yeah. I said I was going to let you, and there it is. So a polynomial is like x to the third power plus x to the fourth power minus 2x to the first power. So it's just a bunch of x's raised to powers, and you add them, and they have numbers in front of them and stuff. So like 5x to the fifth power plus 3x to the squared plus 1 is a polynomial. So a root of a polynomial just means that it's a thing that when you plug it in for x, you get 0 out. For example, a root of the polynomial x squared minus 1 is 1. If you plug in the number 1, you get a 0
It's
out.
okay.
For another example, a root of, say, x to the fourth minus 16 would be 2, because if you
Okay.
plug in a 2, you get 0.
Okay.
A root of the polynomial x squared minus 2 would be the square root of 2, because if you plug in the square root of 2, you get 0.
All right.
So an algebraic number is any number that is the root of some polynomial. So for example, the square root of 2 is an algebraic number because it's a root of x squared minus 2. There exists a polynomial out there that you plug it in and you get 0. Now notice,
Okay.
and I'll come back to this, but notice square root of 2, as I mentioned, is also irrational, right?
Okay.
It has infinitely many decimal numbers. Okay, now if a number is not algebraic, it's called transcendental. So a
Mm.
transcendental number is a number that is not the root of any polynomial out there. It's
Oh.
easy to show, well, quote unquote easy to show that a number is algebraic because you just have to find a polynomial that it's a root of. All rational numbers are algebraic. It's very easy actually, given any fraction, to find a polynomial that it's, well, quote unquote, very easy to find a polynomial that it's a root of. Now, showing something's transcendental not is very difficult because you would have to show that there is no polynomial in existence that it's a root of. And there's a lot of
Hmm.
polynomials out there. I should
Mhm.
specify rational coefficients, but okay, that's
Okay.
so
Not that
it
anybody has ever complained to us about your math being in error at any
well,
way, shape, or form. So, Keep going.
Poor.
Yeah.
So, okay. So ask me, Bear. You might ask, what is an example of a transcendental number? Do we have any examples?
Taebyn, what is an example of a transcendental number? Are there any examples of a transcendental number?
That's a very good question because it's so hard to prove. We do actually know some. For example, pi
Uh-huh.
is a transcendental number.
Okay.
There are several proofs, but they're all very involved. It's not a simple proof.
Okay.
The number e turns out to be a transcendental number. Again, not a simple proof.
Okay.
All transcendental numbers are irrational. So it's not a surprise that pi, e being irrational numbers, they're also transcendental because it turns out that all transcendental numbers are irrational. And of course, that's because all rational numbers are algebraic. So all transcendental numbers are irrational, but then there's the question, are all irrational numbers transcendental?
Hmm.
And actually, you know the answer to this barely because we actually kind of already said.
I'm going to say yes.
The
And I
answer
would be
is
wrong.
no. Yeah, the answer is
Uh,
yes, that you would be wrong. Yes.
yes.
So, for example, the number square root of 2, it's an irrational number, but it's algebraic because it's the root of the polynomial x squared minus 2.
hmm
So all transcendental numbers are irrational, all rational numbers are algebraic, not all irrational numbers are transcendental. Now, we're almost done. I know it's a lot, but
If A, then B, then C? No, that's something different.
if it's related though. It's okay. So what about if you like add irrational or transcendental numbers? Do you get another irrational transcendental number? Well, if you multiply, so these are natural questions. So for example, pi and
Hmm.
e are both irrational and transcendental. What about
Okay.
if you add them, pi plus e?
I'm going to guess that a transcendental number, when added to another transcendental number, is a transcendental number.
You would think so. This is a hypothesis that I agree makes total sense.
hmm
Do you think it's irrational or rational? Would you say?
I would say that it's going to be rational. And again, I would be wrong.
Well, so a natural thing would be to think if you add two irrational numbers, you get an irrational number. Well, so for example, the answer is not true always. For example, what happens when you add pi to negative pi,
You get 0.
which is a rational number? So there's an example of
hmm
adding two irrational numbers and you get a rational number. And you might say, oh, well, is that kind of a silly example? Well, the idea is, though,
hmm
what if you add or subtract two irrational numbers? In order to get a rational number, like you'd have to cancel a whole bunch of those decimal points. So you have
hmm
only finitely many left. And that's what
hmm
happened with pi plus negative pi. But how do we know that if you add pi and e, or subtract them either way, that you don't cancel enough decimal points so that you have a finite number of decimal points left?
I don't think we know.
That is actually the correct answer because it is actually not known if pi plus e is irrational, and we don't know if it's transcendental or not,
Hmm.
which is really kind of crazy to think about. Other examples, e to the pi power,
hmm
remember when you raise to a power and that thing?
Right.
E to the pi power is both irrational and transcendental, it's known.
Wow. Hmm.
But pi to the e power is not known if it's irrational, and it's also not known if it's transcendental.
Hmm.
Crazy. Do you remember the number I, the square root of -1, the imaginary unit we've talked about before? I
Oh,
guess,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember imaginary units. Yes, but
yeah,
I don't remember what the number was.
yeah. So imaginary. So it's a number, square root of -1. Okay. So e to the pi is known to be irrational and
hmm
transcendental. E to the pi I power, well, by the Euler thing, which we've talked
hmm
about before, is
E to the
negative
pi I.
1. E
Right.
to the pi I is -1.
Mhm.
So that is algebraic and rational. They're so close. The numbers are so close, but they're crazy things are
Hmm.
happening. So the moral of all this is that you can't take things for granted in general. This is why we have proofs. This is why we have to make sure that we have concrete foundations on things, because we have intuitions, but they can totally lead us astray. So that's why we've got to be careful when we make conjectures and make sure we can prove things. That's my
Okay.
math for the week.
That's your math for the week. And thank you for making all of our brains hurt in a
You
fun and
are
exciting
welcome.
way.
Well, I like that you say it like that.
It's a fun and exciting way to learn about math. And you know what? It is time for some trivia.
Speaking of things I don't know. Okay, good.
But we're going to play that game. I should have known that. So you should have known these things. So I'm going to ask you for a rational number between 7 and 15.
See, if you divide, okay, must be between 7. So how about and 15? So
Mhm.
how about 28 halves?
28 halves, which would be 14.
I did it.
Okay.
Good, good. Got it.
Yes. All right. So 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I hold in my hand the magic card with the questions upon it that we shall ask the ever so famous and wonderful Taebynator. It is the Taebynator. All right.
Taebyn.
Question number 1. What is the name of the Olympic Games in which people with physical disabilities compete?
I know this one. This would be the
Uh-huh.
Special Olympics.
I will give that to you. It's
Oh,
technically called the Paralympics.
really?
Yes.
So, like, I've never, this is really interesting because I would love to see Olympics where you've got like apples and bananas and stuff swimming and diving and everything because it's the Paralympics.
The Paralympics, but that would only be pears. So apples and
Oh,
things
yeah,
would
they're
not be
not allowed.
diving.
They're not allowed. It's a very
No,
discriminatory Olympics.
it's Olympics, yes. So, but I will give you Special Olympics because that's what it's
Okay.
commonly known
I
as.
did not know that. So that's good. I learned something.
What colors do wrestlers wear? Not WWE wrestlers, but wrestlers. Okay. What colors do wrestlers wear when they're competing?
I think I need some clarification because you said the WWE thing, but help me. I'm having trouble.
Okay, so you know high schools and colleges have wrestling teams.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the ones we're talking about?
Those are the ones we're talking about. What
Okay.
colors do wrestlers wear when they're competing?
And what's
No,
WWE thing?
the World Wrestling Exposition. That's like with
Oh,
the
Hulk Hogan and stuff?
Hogan and that kind of
Okay,
stuff. I
okay,
don't even.
okay.
I think it's WWF or WF2 or whatever it is
Yeah,
now.
I
I don't
don't
know what
watch,
it
but
is,
I
but
okay,
yes,
now I know what you're talking about now.
yeah,
Okay, got it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
so now that I'm clear on that, do that again.
okay, what colors do they wear when they're competing?
Red and green?
Close, red and blue.
Oh,
There you go.
well, there
There you
you
go.
go. Okay, okay.
Hmm.
I
All
knew
right.
half of that.
What is the opposite of analog?
I actually feel I know this one, but I'm having trouble, so I'm going to say Vealog because it's not
Dialogue.
analog. I don't know.
Firewood, analog, no, digital.
Oh, I did know. See? That's
You
why this
did
game
you
is
did know.
called
I should have known that. Yes, exactly. All right. Final question. What do you call the particles that orbit the nucleus of an atom? And it's not Jimmy Neutron.
Right, we've been over that, and I say it
Yes.
wrong every time, it turns out.
Hmm.
So, yeah, no, that's
Hmm.
the particles that orbit the nucleus of a what?
Of an atom.
Of an atom.
Not an Eve, but an atom.
Well, I would have to say the difference between that is
Hmm.
how it everything divides up in the atom because you add
Okay.
them.
Add them together. Yes.
That's
Ah.
I'm gonna say that's my answer.
Oh. Well, I think this is what actually Trump was talking about when he kept saying the electrons were stolen from him. That's what I think he was saying. I don't think he was saying the election was stolen. I think he was saying the
The
electrons were
electrons
stolen.
were sold from him. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So it's electrons orbit
Okay,
the
I see. I
nucleus.
see.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So
Again, I
yes.
think at one point I knew that.
Taebyn, that's the end of the show. We did it again.
Oh
We made it to
my.
the end. Finally.
This
So
was this was
it was a journey this week for some reason. I
this
don't know
was
why. It's just I think it was the heat. Let's mac it up. Mac it up. Let's
I
mac it
I
up to the heat. Let's mac it up, man.
so we're
Let's mac it
trucking
up.
it along as we Mac it up because
Mhm. Mhm.
Mac truck and everything. I don't know. That was
Well, and
too
you
bad.
kept saying earlier about the roots of numbers,
Uh-huh.
and that reminded me of growing up in New Jersey. The word root was like, what route did you take to get somewhere?
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So I was going to say, a lot of the numbers had paper, so they were a paper route. Only people on the East Coast would understand that joke.
So you forewent that, okay.
I forewent that joke, but I figured I may as well throw it out there now because it's the end of the show and nobody cares.
No.
So nobody
They're all
cares at
gone.
the end of the show.
I was thinking, I mentioned how in, what was it, episode 45 or 39, whatever it was, when I did like the longest send-off ever or
Right.
something. It's like I feel that they hear you say your
Goodbyes.
goodbye.
My sign off. Yeah.
Basically just stay furry.
Yeah.
And then they stop listening because they're like, okay, that the next 15 minutes is 15 minutes I will never get back. So I might as well go see if I can find my 15 minutes of fame instead. But
right. Right. Well, and honestly, there are algorithms out there for people that listen to podcasts all the time that if you are listening to a specific podcast all the time and you click off at a certain point, the algorithm will learn where you like to stop listening.
Okay.
And it will shut it off for you before you have to listen to it. And the reason I know this is because I was chatting with a fur and he asked me, he says, well, what's your real name? And I was like, well, you said you listened to the podcast. He said, I've listened to every podcast you've put out. I said, well, you haven't listened to the sign off then, have you? Because my name is in the sign off. It's in the credits at the end. He goes, oh, well, I have an algorithm that just shuts it off when the closing music starts, it just stops. I'm like, okay.
See, I was, okay, that's interesting. I was just going to say there's pros and cons to that because one, it's efficient and it's helping you out, but also like, who knows what you're missing? And that was a good example of, well, you're missing things that you would want to know.
Right, exactly. So anyway, I had a great time with this today, as I always do. But next week, I'm not going to be here. So you're going to do something with a guest host. We're trying something new this season.
This is true. I have a co-host next week.
A guest co-host next week. Well, you have a co-host every week. It's me.
It is.
Yeah.
And this week you have the fence post.
I have a fence post. So next week I will be not here. So I won't have anything to rhyme.
You won't have anything. You won't even have a fence post.
Nope. But the guest host next week will be Lux Operon. Coming in. To host with you. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you two come up with in my absence.
I look forward. I don't even know what's going to go.
I don't even know what's going to happen. Yeah. So, and Rain Raccoon, our tech guy, is going to be popping in to help make sure that you guys stay on track as much as possible.
Oh my cow! We'll see what happens there.
We'll see what happens there. He has the power to turn you off, though. Remember that. If he gets too far off the rails, he'll just click stop. So
it won't be done. It'll be just done.
It'll be done. So, and our guest next week will be Strong Bob Fox. And of course, that's pre-recorded for the show. So you will get to hear my golden dulcet tones next week as part of the interview with Strong Bob Fox. But I won't be doing the regular part of the show with everybody. So again, thanks to all our supporters and listeners. We love you and appreciate your continued support for our show. And I say unto you, until next time, all my furry friends out there, moo bark fluff and stay furry.
And I say thank you. Well, it's been automatically turned off now, I'm sure. so it doesn't matter what I say now because it's turned off. But in the off chance that it's not automatically turned off, yes, thank you so much everybody for listening. This episode has been little cray, I don't know, but anyway, thank you for listening. If you're listening now, can't wait to do all the normal stuff. Do your vaccination if you haven't already, all that good stuff. All I can say, I say so much all the time, but all I can say is thanks so much. We hope you liked the stuff. We liked it. We're glad you listened. Until next week, we say moo bark fluff and have a great week.
Barely Furcasting is an Injured Nerves studio production and is found on all major podcast platforms or can be heard directly at barelyfurcasting.com. The opinions expressed here are those of the hosts and their guest, and no commercial compensation was granted. The Furcast is produced, recorded, and directed by me, Barely Normal, aka Mike Began, and is edited by myself and our associate editors, Rain Raccoon and Bixby Wolf. Opening and closing theme music, as well as some interstitial music, was created for Injured Nerves Productions for the use on the podcast by our music associate, Reg Day, with Damian Tanuki. If you would like to hear more music by Reg Day, You can search for Tweezerbeak on Bandcamp or Hoop Loop Tunes on SoundCloud. Other interstitial and background music by Shane Ivers through silvermansound.com, Gator Tots on soundcloud.com, and the YouTube Free Use Library. You can send us a message via email at barelyfurcasting@gmail.com or on our Telegram chat at BFFTchat, on Twitter, on our Facebook page, or on the barelyfurcasting.com webpage. The show is supported through donations at ko-fi.com/barelyfurcasting or through Patreon at patreon.com/barelyfurcasting. Thanks for listening. We hope you come back and listen next week.